welcome. A special edition of the BSc retrospective this evening. It's a real joy to bring you for me, the DP's DP, Mr. Roger Deakins ASC BSC, with James Deakins, welcome, and of course a key grip to the stars, Gary Hims. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for
key grip to the stars.
We like that.
I
love that. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you for joining me. It's a real privilege for me, so I appreciate that. Your work, obviously, Roger, is a list of some of them. I'm going to read this out because there's a lot I wanted to say. Your work is a list of some of the most beautiful and distinct storytelling in cinema history. I think from 1984 through Sid and Nancy, through to Shawshank, and your enduring relationship with the Coens, Jesse James, to your work with Villeneuve, and of course Sam Mendes. Your work is seminal, but you've said you don't want people to copy what you do. That's not what you would ever want. That's not the point. Can you tell me a little?
I don't mind people copying. I don't think it's a very good idea to try and copy because, you know, everybody has a different kind of eye. So why copy me, you know?
Well, I think people could do worse than that. But of course, to 1917, and congratulations, of course, on your second Oscar, almost in succession, which is, I guess they're a bit like buses. You wait for ages, and then loads come all at once. Hopefully.
I don't know. I suppose
That's
so.
very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
and of course a fifth BAFTA for cinematography, which of course is not to be sniffed at all. And to 1917, 10 Oscars in nominations in all, with 3 wins, 9 BAFTA wins, countless other nominations and wins. This particular show struck a chord. Why do you think that was?
Yeah, I have no idea. I thought it was quite good. I mean, I thought it was quite a good story, and it's definitely a kind of quite original way of telling a story, but it's a very particular story that could be told in that way, you know, and Sam had written it with that kind of concept in mind. So, yeah, beats me sometimes when a film's successful or not. You mentioned Shawshank Redemption. It bombed at the box office. Go figure.
Yes, well, no, there's no accounting for taste, I guess.
Yeah.
The one-shot concept, of course, has been talked about a lot, and you've said that it was written on the front of the script by Sam. What were your feelings about that? And did you think he was joking, or did you think it was, did it read like that?
Well, I mean, just seeing it on the front page of the script before I read the script, yeah, I didn't know if it was a joke or it was just written there as a, for instance, or whatever. But then when you read the script, it becomes kind of obvious because it's sort of a real-time story and it's basically set around 2 characters. So no, it seemed like a good plan once you'd read the script, you know.
What was your feeling about oneers up to that point? What was the longest oneer that you'd sort of set out to achieve before that?
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, done long shots on different things, but you don't really think of it like that. It's like
Shawshank had that one.
Yeah. Shots seem to find their own length, you know, usually on a film as you sort of block with actors or talk with a director. They sort of find themselves in a way. I think shots do. You know, I'm wary of gimmicks. You know, I think that the role of cinematography is to immerse the audience in the story. So I'm a bit wary of any gimmicks. Like I'm kind of known for saying I don't like zoom lenses and I don't like flares. I don't like artifacts. I want the image to be as immersive as possible, really, you know.
No film is a product of any one person. Of course, these things can never be made by one person alone. And you had a trusted team around you, obviously working closely with James. But Gary, you'd worked with Gary before. What had you worked with Gary before on, and how did you both get into how did you even begin to approach? No, well, that's a bigger question. But what had you done with Gary before?
Well, I'd done Skyfall with Gary, you know, and Gary, I'd worked with Sam on the last Bond movie as well. But how did we start? It was, I called Gary up and we met in a restaurant in Notting Hill. And
You blame me.
huh?
And you blame me.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was like, you know, it's such a departure really from what either of us has done. So I was a bit nervous approaching Gary about it, really. I wonder if he would really take it on, you know, because it didn't seem initially that it would be actually so intensive as it was in terms of cranes and movement and tracking vehicles. It felt much more like it was going to be some kind of remote stabilized head and somebody walking with it, you know.
But then as we went along in prep, I think the hardest thing for Gary was that you were on Star Wars, so you weren't with us as it all started developing and we were trying to figure out how to do it. So we had Malcolm with us, and both Malcolm and us were talking with you, but it must have been very frustrating for you trying to finish something and knowing that you're going to have a lot of catch up to do when you came over to us.
I mean, who's Malcolm? Is that your best boy?
Yeah, no, Malcolm's the A camera grip, and we've been working together for, Malcolm McGilchrist that is, we've been working together for 10 years. So when we work on the cranes, I do the back of the crane and Malcolm does the pickle, you know, the telescopic arm that goes in and out. Malcolm does that, and we've been doing that for a while. And we always work together. And I was on Star Wars and Malcolm was on Star Wars with me. But there was no way I could have left Star Wars the way it was. And so Malcolm jumped in to go with Roger, and I got a replacement for Malcolm on Star Wars. And he done the first, he must have done the first 6 weeks, I think. And then I arrived and all hell broke loose, really, I suppose.
You know, what's really funny, Gary, is that you came a little bit later than some other people had come, and we got to watch this process because everybody, when they showed up, it took them a couple of weeks to get past that one take thing and go, well, we could do it with a cut over here. No. And everybody had to go through that.
You're right. Yeah, I remember Gary saying a couple of times, well, can we cut here when we want to be around here?
Can we come round? Yeah, can we just come round here?
I mean, what had happened though is that Malcolm was with us, and we basically did some very rough, I say we, it was Sam and George and Dean, two main actors, and James and myself, and Malcolm, and we would, and Peter Cavalcuti was with us.
Well, he was a little late,
went away. Charlie Rizek was with us most of the time. And what we did was we rehearsed like in an open field and mapping out what the set would be, where the trenches would be, where the farmhouse would be. And so we rehearsed the scenes and worked out, you know, basically the flow of the camera relative to the actors. So by the time Gary came on, we had a very specific plan of what we wanted the camera to do, but we hadn't really figured out all the intricacies of that. You know, a lot of it, obviously, we thought Charlie could do it with the Trinity, or Pete Cavalcuti could do it on a steady camera straight away. And then some we thought, well, we could do on a tracking vehicle. And then it just gradually built up. Some we obviously had to do with Technocranes. And then we rehearsed and with this, the Stabilize remote head. And we figured how we could do handoffs. So then we had to break down the whole script into, you know, it's technically into the sections we were going to approach.
And also, we didn't know the Stabilize beginning. Right. And as we were continuing along in prep, we began to realize more and more the Stabilize could be used for certain, a lot of things.
I was very wary of it at the beginning, because I found operating really, I found it really difficult at the beginning, although I use a geared head a lot, but and a remote head a lot, but it took me a while just to get into the rhythm of it, and the speed that the actors were going to be moving at some points in the story. You know, that sort of zigzagging motion was quite difficult. So we did a lot of rehearsals with Malcolm before Gary came on. to figure out how much we could probably do on that head. So I say, when Gary came on, we went through all the possibilities again with him and then built on that.
That's it. I mean, was it what? I mean, was this sort of stuff? That was what I was going to ask you, really, just about the timeline of that. Of you know, even going back to almost camera choice, because obviously you used the Mini LF, which was only in prototype at the time, and the fact that you needed to be mobile enough and it needed to be small enough to be able to achieve what you did. What was the timeline of that, and then you getting into this, you know, using the stable eye?
Well, it's interesting because the timeline with the LF camera Mini
started way
before. It was like August, was it? We went to Munich.
No, we went to Munich in September, but we saw France in the States. We
saw France here in August. And then we broached the subject of a larger format camera. And he said, well, you know, maybe we'd make an LF one day, a Mini. And we said, well, can that one day be by February? And he said, well, I'll have to figure that out. And then in September, we went to Munich and basically twisted their arms in Munich and said, well, you need this camera. And so they basically brought forward the development of the camera, because they didn't have a prototype or anything at that point. They just had an idea they might be able to do it. So Arriflex were really fantastic. They guaranteed they would give us 3 bodies by the end of February, wasn't it? Leaving us the last month. One being in March. Leaving us nearly a month before we started shooting.
So I mean, it's an overarching question, but do you think you could have done this sort of show? Obviously, but not being available, but could you even have done this show? Well, 2 things. Could you have done it on, considering your length of take, could you have done that on film? And B, could you have even done it 5 years ago, given the availability of technology? Or would it have been a very different film, I guess?
Yeah, it would have been a different film. I mean, you know, you could do it. I mean, you could do it on film, because what would you use? You would shoot some of it on a IMO or something or whatever, you know, and do it in short sections. You could do it. For sync, but yeah, right, not so good for sound.
Yeah.
But you know, you could do it. But I mean, obviously, the advantages of having a small digital camera and also having that format gave it a certain optical quality that both Sam and I wanted. So, and
also we were able to view it on the set in such good quality because we were determining what our next setup, how it was going to start. So being able to have that kind of quality come in, and then the video guy could even do a rough blend, that really helped us know that we were on the right track for the blend.
Yeah, I mean, you ask Gary, but I mean, maybe he could have wandered around with a Panaflex Platinum or something, you know, handheld. I mean, it wouldn't have fit on the stabilizing head, you know.
Yeah, once you said do it on film, I thought I could never have carried the film camera like we carried this one. Yeah, I did have 2 6'4" grips with me who were slightly bigger than me to do that sort of thing. Yeah.
You always need to, Gary, throughout though. I mean, you were really fit. You were amazing. You were so fit because it wasn't easy climbing those hills because it may be smaller, but it's still not that light.
I was in bed at 7 o'clock every night though.
Yeah. That's true.
It was a very dry job for me, that one, when we were away.
So in terms of the technology, you said that it was that, you know, everything was coming, was all quite new. I mean, and you know, Dave Free Stabilize been around for a little while, but that was a new piece of kit to you, Roger. But had you? Yeah,
I'd seen some shots that had been done on it, and I knew Dave from before, but I didn't know that I hadn't physically worked with it. So very early on, James and I, and Pete Cavacuti was very involved in going to obstacle support and then and working with the Stabilize. And actually, we looked at other systems as well. We compared every possible gizmo we could get our hands on. But we kept going back to the Stabilize. There was something about it that I felt was going to give us a more solid feel, but also a more flexible working method.
And also Dave worked with us. We needed certain things, and he tweaked the whole system a little bit. And then because we were having these long stretches, connectivity was really important. So he spent some time working on that. So the Stable-Eye that came out of this movie was a brand new Stable-Eye from what came into it.
Yeah, it was great. It was a whole bunch of people working together, like I say, Chris at Optical Sport with Pete Cav.
He was fabulous.
They produced a little short post so that Pete wore the Steadicam vest, but he had a little post, and then he put the Stable-Eye on top of it so he could point the camera back over his shoulder. So he's running forward down the trench, pointing the camera back over his shoulder towards the actors. That's the only way he could get that speed, you know.
Operating.
And and I was operating remotely. And as he goes to a corner and wants to carry it on, then he'd swing it around with the actors and then run behind them, you know. And it was a really interesting learning curve that for all of us, I think. But it was once we picked the kind of major pieces of equipment we were going to use, then we started practicing with them and really honing down what we could do with them. Like the Trinity is good for certain things, but it's not as good as maybe the Steadicam if you're not wanting to go up and down, you know. And then you've got to think about, you say about the camera, it's not only whether you could do it with the film or not, but some of those shots were like 7 odd minutes.
Yeah, that's the key.
I mean, you know, Charlie was holding the Trinity on Blake's death. Maybe it was 8 minutes shot. And it's not, at one point it's really fast, and one point it's really slow. At one point he's got to do a real little subtle push in, and then he's got to stay lockside for all the dialogue. Then he's got to get up with them and suddenly move fast. And that's an incredibly hard thing to do. So to have a light camera and one small prime lens, and, you know, everything was as miniature as possible. And Charlie even stripped down the Trinity and made some different lightweight gizmos for it to replace some things that have been heavier, just so that he could do these very extended takes, you know. And it was the same, I mean, the same with Gary carrying it. I mean, it's the same thing. We had to strip it down to its real bare minimum so you could just physically do it, you know. I mean, you could do one take, but when you've got to do 20 or 30, you know, you've got to take that into consideration.
What actually, out of interest, did you, when you mentioned lenses, did you use, I know you're a big fan of masters, did you use masters on this, and how many lens changes were there between transitions? Was it almost a one lens show?
No, we used the signature primes because you needed the coverage. And it was basically 95% of the film was shot on a 40, and there was a little bit on the interior of the German bunker shot on a 35, and a little bit of the river was shot on a 47. But it was basically a 40. That was our, I mean, it needs to be that just to match from setup to setup, you know.
Yes, of course.
And another thing we had going for us when we were prepping is Ari Rental. They were amazing. They supported us.
Russell,
They supported us so much because we were trying new things, and we needed, let alone a new camera, we needed to have them help us, and they were amazing. All
the days that, you know, Pete, Cav and Charlie and us, we were up there day after day practicing up there, you know, and
in the parking lot.
And Russell was just, he was just brilliant. I mean, really brilliant, you know. Oh, what, you want this bit? You want to try that? Okay, yeah, we can get that, we get that, you know, and the stuff was coming in and out and flying. It was great.
Russell will be very pleased to hear that. I'm just going to, I was running through them a bit earlier with James and Gary. I'll show you, I've got some pictures that we can look at. Hang on a second. I'm just going to share these with you. I'm not going to do that actually. Hang on. What they are, all I just did is I just grabbed some still frames from a behind the scenes video that I got off of. Hang on a sec. This is not very glamorous. Hang on. Any second now. Hang on. All they are is just some shots that that kind of showed the behind the scenes, just to give us an idea of what was happening. give us what you were doing in various modes. So hopefully we can see that. Can you see that? No. 1 second.
Yeah, it came up for a second.
Any second now. This one. That one. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Just and we can.
Yeah, they're basically, these are just all glamour shots of Gary, really.
Yeah, well, you know,
yeah,
you've got
there's so many of them.
you're artist.
So I mean, just all I wanted to do really is is to, you know, they're just triggers really for us to sort of look at what was going on. Gary was explaining obviously that this is the right at the top of the show, isn't it? So it's when we first
shot of the film, yeah.
And can you tell us about how that how that starts, Gary? You were saying about a crane, about a small arm.
It's the opening shot of the film. I don't know if anybody can remember the exact shot, but we was in tall grass, long grass, and the camera starts on the long grass and very slowly reveals our two heroes, one laying on the floor flat and one against the tree. George is laying against the tree, and it comes back very, very slowly to reveal them. And we tried it a few times on the Trinity because there is a long way to go yet after this opening. And it was too windy. Do you remember, Rod? It was too windy. We had to step out. Also, Charlie had to step over their legs. So we put it on a little crane arm, cine jib crane arm, and we tracked back with them for that opening, kept it really steady, really steady. And as George gets up, we took it off the crane, came back with them, through the town, through the camp, and then right the way down into the trenches. But by the time it got to the trenches, you'll see there, this is early, the two of us couldn't fit down that trench. You can only get one man down that trench. So we had another grip, Simon Muir, took it off of us and done the last, say, 50 feet of the track, really. Right. This was quite a tricky shot because it was very uneven ground, wasn't it, Roger? Do you remember?
Yeah.
We had a few problems. And I noticed
was very uneven, and it had a feeling of going up and down. So we had to level the ground, and we struggled with this shot actually.
Yeah, I remember that the foreground. When we hit the camp, we were very close. Some big foreground of pots and pans, and a soldier just clearing up the pots and pans. And as we went very close to it, you could see the movement. So we sort of said to the prop man, "Can you nick that back a few feet, and we might get away with it?" And it was being tweaked all the time, really. It was very wet, wasn't it? It was very slippery. I think we had irons on our boots to keep there. And this was one where we had to face the other way most of the time, as you can see. And James was saying, "Okay, go just a little bit tighter, just a little bit wider." And we sort of started that up, and that went through the whole film, really, didn't it, James? Through the tape we were talking. Roger could say what he wanted instantly to James, and she could get it to me, and then that's how we do it, really.
So just what sort of order did you shoot the film in? It feels like you almost did it in order.
No, this not really, because we started doing the brown trenches. Basically, we started doing all the trench work in Bovingdon at that airfield. All this stuff going into Eremor's bunker, coming out of it, all the way up. Then we did into no man's land. That was all a composite set. Then we did going in the crater. We did
going into the German
German bunker, the exterior of that, and then we left there and went and did the quarry, and then we went back to the front and started the earlier shot.
Right. And then
most of it after that was in sequence, but I mean we just couldn't, just because of the locations that we had to break it up.
Sure. And obviously you did it was all built. The majority of everything was built. All the trenches and the no man's land and stuff, that was all built from scratch to order, was it?
Yeah, we basically, as I said before, we walked it out with the actors, and I shot it with a little point and shoot. So we had the basis of the shots planned out, and then we did it with the actors and just tweaked them a bit. So the time Dennis Gassner and his art department came to build the sets, it was all marked out exactly how long we needed a trench, where the turn would be, where the
Which
little
side
setback,
seeing,
yeah,
yeah.
which side we were seeing. When we weren't seeing one end, we wouldn't build it. And then same with the farmhouse, all of it, basically, we mapped out, like we did a bird's eye view sort of diagram.
It's sort of, it sounds like it's kind of liberating to know, or refreshing to know what the shots are actually going to be before you even turn over. Because often you sort of get somewhere and shots often develop, or they, you know, to have those decisions made up front is really, it feels.
Yes, no, really. I mean,
yeah.
I worked with the Coen brothers in the past, and we've always storyboarded everything. But then you could still get on the set and change it. Well, here you couldn't. You couldn't change it, because if you change one shot, it would affect what you did before or what you're going to do, affect the blend. And I say we had to build the sets. All the blends were very, they're very closely defined on where a set would end and another one would begin. Or like in this case, this picture that is showing now, I mean, there's Gary and that carrying the camera, putting it on the wire, and Gavin is controlling the wire as they're crossing the crater and coming out the other side. And there's a very particular blend at the end of this as the camera comes up past the top of the berm. Yeah, and then
there's a hand.
You know, like another
Right.
place.
We were a little worried when we were in prep and we were doing so much prep and we knew everything, that maybe would it be a little stale by the time we actually shot it. But the fact of the matter is that we had to wait for the clouds. The clouds could maybe be only 5 minutes. So the amount of stress on everyone kept it very fresh.
Adrenaline was up.
Yeah, Gary, you should talk about this shot, working with a wire rig. You ever done anything like this before?
No, never done it before. And I've done obviously wire cam before, but we never when we've actually put the camera on it.
Yeah.
So what we had here, I don't know if you can flip back to the first photograph. Is that awkward to do?
No, that's right.
This trench here, the two boys walking along becomes very narrow and very slippery. And I've got the two boys here. So there's Simon Muir and Malcolm McGilchrist to my side. Malcolm's actually holding me because it was so slippery, and I'm going low with it. When I get through the narrow piece, the two boys take it off me, and they're both 6'4", and in comes the wire cam comes down, and they place it onto the wire cam, and off they go all in one shot. Yeah, that's it. So it moves. You see now, I've gone now. I've dropped off.
Oh, you've fallen you're in a crater somewhere.
I've had enough now. Yeah, and it continues. Then it drops into the quarry, and obviously there's that great low shot across the water as they climb up the side.
So Gary,
the sides,
you had to figure out how to clip it on and off without a bobble, right? How did you figure that out?
Well, that really started with. I mean, this is quite a straightforward one. As long as you put it on smoothly, it's fine. But when it's on the crane, we found that I thought, well, how are we going to do that? Because the minute you take the camera off of the crane, it's like a seesaw, isn't it? The balance is going to go completely. It's going to go straight up in the air, the crane, and it's going to be a problem. So a bit labour intensive. But what we had to do, I would hold the handle of the camera as it came in. The boys would be on the crane. They'd push it past the lower, so it came off the crane without you noticing it. So, i.e., the crane would be pushed down by one of the groups. I think Gary Gizzer Smith was doing that. He was pushing it down, so it stayed in the same place. You see, so it just kept going. The was there, the crane kept going, but the camera stayed there, and then they would either suck it back or swing away, and we got the knack of it really, and it worked really well in the end, I think. I mean, couldn't see the joint, but there was the shot of the thing.
I think the tricky thing about it, though, was like here you're going onto a wire rig, but the wire rig has already got to be moving at the same speed as they're carrying the camera, as Malcolm's carrying the camera and putting it on. So it has to feel like one movement. Yeah. I mean, there was no digital fixes in there at all. Yeah. It was actually smooth, because I was operating and I couldn't tell when the camera was on.
We never knew.
Handheld or when it was on the wire. And suddenly it's on the wire going over the crane.
You know it's
on the wire,
What?
Well, that's impressive. That's testament to the to camera handling right there. That's amazing.
Yeah, but as I say, in prep, when we'd nailed down how we were going to do this shot, then we started practicing it. Gavin Weatherall actually set up this wire system on the backlot in Pinewood. I'm in Shepperton, rather. It's Shepperton, so we could do the sequence where we're crossing the canal, but also we could practice these handoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see from that picture anyway, that it is literally just hooks. I mean, and I could see that there were safeties were going on, but was there any issue with that, or did the stab head take that out of it actually, because it goes into a swing, so there's almost another axis.
A little bit, but the head takes it out. I mean, that's the thing about this is a very low-tech solution. You know, I know people sometimes use magnets and that, but I think Peter Cavacuti was saying that he's seen it with magnets and there's always a little bump. And we did try it, I think, with a magnet. With Dave Freeth, but it was always this little bump. And so we found this very, very simple, really, isn't it? These hooks, but it worked best. And sometimes the low-tech thing is the better way to go.
Quite.
Yeah, very
quite.
And it had to be quick. Well, you couldn't, you had no time to fiddle with it. It had to go on very smooth and very easy. So it worked quite well.
I thought the most pressure really for me was that they had to put the safety on because we only had 3 camera bodies, and we had no chance of getting another one. So.
Don't break the camera. Don't break the camera.
Yes, more than ever before. Don't break the camera. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's another quick shot just to Pete Cav with his. I believe I've seen it's a dragonfly is what he created, wasn't it? Which is so he hasn't got the normal kind of monitor at the bottom of the sled, but he's got gyros and he's put his own monitor on there. So it's a kind of it's a bit of a signature sled there. Which
it's absolutely purpose made. Yeah.
Which I think is impressive. But I've seen, in the video of this, he's pelting along, isn't he? I mean, he's traveling fast, which is impressive.
Yeah. I mean,
so you were operating the stabilizer throughout that, Roger.
Yeah, this I'm operating remotely, but I think the one that Peter will probably remember most, I think he's listening, he's on this thing, was when he's going, the shot going down inside the German bunker, when it's blown up and collapsing, because he's doing that on Steadicam, and that's not CG, that's all stuff collapsing. Yeah. Right. And he did that about, I don't know, 30 odd times. Poor guy. It was amazing to do it in those situations. And I mean, here he's getting pelted with these explosions. Rocks, these explosions are real. I mean, not real rocks actually, but it's all.
He's taking it all in his stride, though. I think that's.
I think he loved it.
There's another hero shot of Gary there walking through the artillery field there.
Yeah.
Steadicam arm to judge this.
That's the start of the steps, isn't it? They come out the quarry, we go past the big gun, and then we climb up that, I don't know, 100 foot steps up to the top of the steps. A good shot there.
Yeah, this was the shot kind of breaks on the white going past that gun. So this is kind of like the start of the shot, and the previous shot was done. Charlie did it on the Trinity. So then Gary and Malcolm had to match the previous shot. So we would rehearse the beginning over and over until we got the motion and exactly the right timing of George and Dean passing behind the gun, because obviously you have to match that perfectly to make the shot work as a blend. And then we would do the rest of the shot, which is actually they end up walking backwards up the hill, and we put some steps in the hill, so they could walk backwards looking down at George and Dean as they come up. And then there's another blend as they go into a woodland at the top of the hill, the location called the Burnt Copse. And then that move at the end of that then has to match what we were going to do in Salisbury. This is somewhere near, I don't know where this is, it's near. But Salisbury was a long way away. This was one particular location. It was just the 3 shots, the quarry. Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's some, you know, I think that there's a lot of people I know that have all studied this film, and kind of everyone's looking out for maybe those transitions. But I think that there's an awful lot of transitions in there that are just properly invisible. Do you know how many transitions there are?
We won't tell. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, well, no, I appreciate that.
Actually, Sam and I said, well, let's not tell anybody. See what they say, because there are actually more than most people think. Because I mean, just practically a lot of it you just could not do in without changing the equipment. Like here, you go behind that gun or by that gun, and it goes from a Trinity to the stable eye.
I mean, we did try and see if the Trinity could go up that hill, but it was evident that it wouldn't.
I mean, you go up that hill for one shot, one take.
Right.
One take. You know,
We went up it 20 times.
No, I mean, it's.
But there's something to be said, I guess, of them having 4 feet on the ground and being able to manhandle it between 2 people. And then the stab head.
The thing is that Gary and Malcolm are putting themselves in the right place, but they don't actually have to, you know, they don't have to manipulate the camera and the framing. So to do that all together, but where, say, Pete is doing Steadicam or Charlie Rizek is doing Trinity, there can only be shots where they can actually see their monitor and actually be able to control the framing. So the stable eye was brilliant, because it was, Gary and Malcolm have to know where they need to be to get the frame, but they're not actually pointing the camera, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, you mentioned about comms earlier. How did that work for comms? I mean, was Pete and Charlie, were they on comms to you?
Yes,
to you, Roger?
They were also on comms with me during it, so we could have communication, because since everything was in one take, if something changed slightly, we might want the camera to go slightly to the left or the right.
Yeah. That's almost as live, which is cool. I mean, a lot of this. No, this is the closest to theatre that I think we get, isn't it? It's those kind of the one-ers, and I love the performative thing. They're very seductive, and it's the energy that comes from those, I think, is really something that everyone on the unit can really thrives on, because all the moving parts have to hit, don't they? So there's real energy from that.
This was quite.
I think what made a big difference and really helped was, again, that we'd shot rehearsals.
Yeah.
Okay, not with the actual set, but we had shot here before the set was dressed. And we had taken frames out of those rehearsals. So maybe this shot, there would be like 3 frames to show
what you wanted to see.
What I wanted to see, or what Sam and I wanted to see at that moment.
Yeah.
So I think, Gary, that really helped, didn't it?
Yeah, but this going to the comms, this shot you're seeing now was very important with the comms, because we had to tell Roger, or I'll relay to James, when we were going up the steps. Because Roger had no idea when we were going up the steps, because we were on a flat level, and then we camera, and we walked quite a long way after this. And then, of course, the camera, we have to go. So we were trying to dip it, keep it low, going very low up the steps, and gradually going up to the final height. So Roger wasn't caught out, because as we walked up, obviously we're walking up the steps. It was, and so it was so important. You'd give a countdown, okay, approaching steps, and 3, 2, 1, and we're going up now, and that's how we do it, really.
I mean, often it's quite, when you're remote operating, it's quite important to be able to almost see the physicality of the camera, so you know where it's going to be. But I guess you didn't have that at all. You often just did not know where the camera was.
No way. I mean, for this shot, we're in tents behind a berm that's like 200 feet over to the left. So I was in no visual contact with anything other than on the monitor, and it had to be there because we shot these shots very quickly when we had the right light, and we had to have our camera base out of picture, or in somewhere where it was the least obtrusive, so it could be painted out later if it had to be.
Gary, you're always up front. All of these pictures, I mean, it's pretty impressive. You're always up front. Which is not every key gripper is always up front. So it's lovely to see you. I mean, you've either got the camera or you're carrying the sled, which is
Well,
always lovely to see.
you just can't put Gary in the background.
No.
It just doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, that's me in uniform there.
Just fixing it with the director.
Yeah.
What was this? This looks like a techno rail, is it?
Yeah, this was, we actually talked about this the other day because this came up late in the shoot, didn't it, really, Roger? There was a shot of, we'd done a lot of shots following at eye level down the trenches, and Sam wanted to start above the heads this time. So it would need a crane. I think we tried it with the Steadicam and the Trinity to get up, but it wasn't feasible. So I think it was a Friday afternoon. It was decided to do it on a 50-foot Technicrane. Now this track here goes back another 200 foot, and it's 8 foot wide. Wow. And we put a 50-foot Technicrane on there, but it was going to be the Monday morning at one stage. So I think all the boys, the chippy that we always have, Josh Jones, Dave Gray and Jim, they all came in on the Sunday. I came in as well because I was terrified it might be put in the wrong place and you wouldn't be able to change it. And we had to build it on Sunday, which we didn't quite complete because we eyed it up, the shot, I'll tell you the shot, the set, but we looked at the ground there and it didn't look, it was uneven, but it wasn't, we didn't think it was that much of a slope really. We thought it was about a 3 foot, 4 foot build instead of being 8 foot 6 in the air at one end. So we had to get more and more scaffolding in, but we got there in the end. You know, it doesn't look quite level on
that. It's one of yours,
yeah. It worked in there. Yeah, one of mine. Yeah, it's my little signature.
Lucky we were on a stabilizer.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. But that was a tricky number, that one, Roger, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, the start of the shot, it starts in the wood with George running between all the other soldiers, and it's Pete and Charlie are actually running with the stabilizer and then hooking it onto the Technicrane, and Gary and everybody's on the Technicrane because it was such a huge beast to push and get it in line with the trench, because the shot is 90 degrees to the actual track. So it was a hell of a thing to get the camera to go down the line of the trench, right? It's going down square with the trench, but remember the trench is zigzagging. So there's Malcolm on the pickle and Gary's trying to get it up at the right height and it's all over the place. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty,
all over the place is about right.
Yeah. But the start in the wood, you know, it had to match the end of a shot that Charlie had done on the Trinity in the wood, where George is running in a profile between all these guys. So it was all very specific, you know, in and out of the shot. That's a tricky one.
It's endlessly impressive. That this was, so is this the beginning of that the final trench run along the front line? Is it? So this is the first techno that's in that scene. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, the thing about this was Sam and I discussed it. We never really settled. And then we looked at it. We thought, okay, we'll follow George down behind him, going down this white trench, and we'll see the landscape beyond. But when we were playing with it, Sam was saying he wanted to feel the space more. So this is kind of a little bit of an ostentatious shot, but I think by then we kind of earned it. You know what I mean? Because he wanted to see wider in the trench and George down at this whole column of men going towards the front. And he wanted to see the landscape with what is the Hindenburg line that was painted in on the other side of the valley, you know. And, so suddenly it was like, okay, we need the camera higher, and we couldn't get up there on the Trinity. It just wasn't physically possible. So that's when we went, Gary, we need a Technicrane, Gary. As you do.
Yeah, it was Friday afternoon, I think, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you had them on standby, surely.
We were very lucky because, as I say, Gary and his guys did it over the weekend. We, on that Monday morning, we shot this shot with the singing soldiers in the morning, and we actually had to wait a number of hours because the sun was out. So we were waiting for one little cloud to be able to do a shot. And I think that helped Gary and the guys finish the track and get that ready. We managed to get the shot of the singing soldiers, which is, I think, for me, it's about the best shot in the film. And how Charlie Rizek did it is like, it's absolutely a brilliant piece of poetry that he did on that shot, I think, anyway. And so then we knew where the end of that shot was. So we immediately went to this shot, the next piece, and matched it with the end of the take that Sam preferred from the morning. And we got this shot, I think, about 7 in the evening. You know, we actually did quite a long day, but we thought we can get this. The cloud's in now. Let's get ahead again. You know, so that's how we had to work. You know.
Just a question, just about the light that you chose to stick to. I mean, obviously that you'd come up the problems of sunlight would be untold. You know, direction of light, backlight, and it being key, and all sorts of problems. So was that the sort of driving behind keeping it overcast?
Well, that was part of it, but the drive really was the look of the film. I mean, it just wasn't going to look right in the sun.
It'd be too cheery.
Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't going to look right. But yes, I mean, just in a practical sense, how do you match anyway? How do you go from a backlight to a front light and not have it look? No, it was just all wrong. And because the script is supposedly, you know, starts really kind of late afternoon, goes into the night, you know, then cuts forward into the late night, early morning dawn. And then this had to be before sunrise, because really sunrise doesn't happen to the last shot of the film, which is the most lucky shot we did, in my mind. But anyway, because the sun comes out at the end of the film.
At the right time,
But no, I mean, it just for the look of the film and the logic of the story, I felt you had to shoot in cloud.
Let's go to... This is I mean, there's lots to get to, but this was one that intrigued me. I mean, I've done this, I've done something like this in a thing that I shot where we had Steadicam just stood in the back of the truck, but the camera rotates around and ends up in an over behind somebody sitting on the left-hand side of the thing. Did you work with the platform on the truck as it was traveling, or was it process work, or how did that work?
No, we had the flat that opens up.
Right.
So this is in Glasgow. This is the dockside in Glasgow. So the match here is the camera starts behind the soldier sitting to the left of the truck, the back of the truck there. So that character behind George, the Sikh character.
Yeah.
And the match is on the white behind his back as George gets out.
Gotcha.
So we made this edge of the truck kind of breakaway so that Charlie could get the camera here behind him to match. And we'd already shot the shot inside the truck, which Gary had done by himself on the Stabilize handheld, which you're looking out the truck with George in the foreground. You're looking back at the road receding. And then Gary moves around, and George is looking at
platform, right?
I
can see. Look, right. Okay, so actually, Charlie was just posted up then, because there's a 4x.
So he can get behind the gentleman on the left there.
Amazing.
And then it comes round, and then it comes round. It goes to a side shot of the dialogue between George and Mark, looking down the line of the trucks. Then as the camera sort of pans to go to George's POV of the broken bridge, on that pan, then we join to a shot that's done on a wire. Then the camera's then on a wire.
I mean, again, I mean, obviously you prepped and rehearsed, but the conceiving of this stuff, I mean, did you go to Gary and tell him what you wanted, or was it a real proper, I mean, it sounds like it was a real process of discovery in terms of technology that you used, and, how do you even...
A lot of testing.
Yeah, right.
We didn't know this equipment at all.
But the shots, initially the shots were worked out without any of the technology in mind.
Yeah.
Sam and I I'm with a storyboard artist and other people, and Dennis sometimes, and we worked out all the shots, before the sets, let's say, were laid out. And then we just had to, when we first started talking, Sam and I, Sam said, okay, let's not think about how we do it. Let's think about where we want to put the camera. That's all we should be thinking about. What do we want to do? How long can we be on their backs? When will we need to see what they're seeing? You know, all those kind of questions. When do we need to show the audience the environment and them as small figures in the environment? You know, all that kind of thing. So we basically worked out the shot, you know, choreographed it all before we started working with everybody else to figure out how we were going to do it.
So Gary, had you used a lot of the technology that obviously got used? You said you used the Stabilizer before, but were you offering solutions? I mean, was it that kind of thing? Was it? Did you present stuff that Roger hadn't seen?
Well, yeah,
Definitely.
It's a team effort, really, all of it. I mean, and this was quite a good thing. The one before, inside the truck, we built. Dave Gray built a platform here, and I took someone passed me the camera as they got on board, and off we went. And I couldn't have held it for that long, the length of the tape, because you have to hold it out. And you try something, it's all right if you're there, but if you hold something out, that gets very tiring. And we had frog clips in the roof which were my positions. So there was the minute I'd get in, the stuntman who was in there watching the boys, he'd have that open for me, and I'd get it to there, and then I could hold it and go, because it was very jerky. And then I'd give him the nod to undo it when I was going to move round, and we had another one waiting. So it was pretty roughly the right place to be, because remember, I haven't got a monitor. So he'd hold me and get me round, and then he'd open that, and then he'd clip it onto the hook again, and I'd be off, and I'd be able to hold that as steady as I could, because that was a very bumpy track. I don't know how it looks on the, I think it looks all right on the screen, but it was very bumpy, wasn't it, Roger, that farm? Yeah. And that's how we done that, really.
That was very solid, so it was a very bumpy move, but it gave the camera a little bit of movement.
Made it real, yeah.
Great.
Well, okay, going back to the very beginning of all of this, I mean, everything is stabilized, right? I mean, you didn't build in any of the dynamic that you would get with handheld, and that was a real conscious choice.
Yeah. We talked, I mean, I think when Sam and I first talked about it, I don't know if Sam had in his mind about shooting it handheld, because the first film I did with Sam was Jarhead, and we basically shot the whole film handheld. But that was such a different thing, because one, there was no 8-minute shots. There was a lot of long handheld tracking shots, but it was a different thing. It wasn't the complexity of the trenches or the trucks or the going across a broken bridge. You know, that was just these grunts in a desert. So I don't know if Sam had it in his mind that some of this would be handheld. I don't know, but we soon realized we wanted the idea of the camera just being going forward, like this sort of forward motion, the two guys on their mission. We wanted the feeling of this camera was just, that's it. It's just going from A to B in a sort of moving forward in a much more sort of proscenium controlled way. So yeah, it was a very deliberate thing not to have movement in the camera. And there was a few times, there was actually one shot where we'd done it and Sam thought there was too much movement in it, so we did it again, actually. Yeah, and I think that's right, because we wanted a real solid feel to it.
That's interesting. This is again, this is Pete Cabb's rig in the chalk trenches.
Yeah, that was after to get Pete. I hope he's not listening.
He is listening.
I'm sure he is.
The interior of this is Mackenzie's bunker. I think it's Mackenzie's bunker. Anyway, the interior of this, I thought the shot Pete did was absolutely phenomenal. And then now this is easy what he's doing here. He's just going up the trench. Getting blasted out with stuff.
Getting blasted out.
That's nothing, you know.
There's another shot of Gary and his hook on.
Yeah,
that's a bit early. That looks like it's really, that's quite early. Looks like it's the camp. Is that the first camp or the second camp?
That's the opening shot of the film. That is.
Is it?
Those scaffold tubes are on the cine jib, and that's where we just lift it off the crane, and then we start the long walk.
Oh, I see.
Right. Yeah.
So you've got the other
Oh, I see.
side.
So we're the boys are behind us in that sort of right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The trench is right in front of us.
Yeah.
So this was Charlie and the what turns into Blake's death scene. I mean, this is astonishing.
Massive
Yes.
How did that all work out? And there's a bunch of there is a mode transition within this scene, isn't there?
A mode transition.
It came from a steady cam and then went into Trinity and
When they exited the farmhouse, right?
It was stabilised, wasn't it? We ran back to me and Malcolm.
When they come out of the farmhouse, it's Pete is doing it on Steadicam, and George finds the milk and he watches the plane. That was Steadicam. Then when we pull back as the plane comes towards us, it's Charlie, and it ends on this. Then Charlie repeated that move for the next bit as the guys get up and they try and get the pilot, well, we get the pilot from the burning plane. That's Charlie doing the move around the plane. And then that goes all the way up to the German pump. No, I mean, not the water pump when the German gets shoots Blake. And then the next piece is the 8-minute shot of Blake's death. That's all one take. Again, it's Charlie all the way. He had to work a bit that day.
Yes, he did.
I've read something where he said he doubled his exercise regime, which clearly paid off.
He did. I mean, there were some days he was obviously after 30 or 40 takes, he was really beat.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was amazing. It wasn't just doing the takes, because this one long sequence of Blake's death, we had basically got the idea of the shot in rehearsals, but we needed to really refine it on the set. So the boys went through the whole motion without actually acting it, and Charlie just needed to get that sort of the feel of it. And we did that when the sun was out. And then that was the evening of one day, I think. And the next day we went straight into it. So Charlie had to go straight into shooting it, because I think I'm right in saying Sam wanted just to go into it without rehearsing, which is absolutely right. But so, and then we shot it, I don't know, 20 odd times probably.
Right. I mean, we talk about you did, the 4 months of prep and rehearsal that you did, which was clearly absolutely critical.
It was closer to 9 months of prep.
Oh, really? Wow.
Was it? Oh,
yes,
no,
it was,
on and off. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, was there? I mean, you just mentioned that there's something that sort of developed about being on set, because isn't there? There's always, you can prep and rehearse, but actually something that a bit of the magic, you don't want to kind of rule out something that comes along on set. Was there any of that? Did that feel like it was allowed?
There was a little bit. I mean, it was a little bit, but the set was built for the moves, and basically by the time we came to shoot, Sam and the actors had they got the movement down. That was almost set. That didn't really change. So it was small things might change, but no.
Well, I guess then it's down to them, isn't it? It's in terms of their performance within that choreography.
Well, yes. I mean, but the thing is, for the shot to work with their movement, they had to almost have it like second nature. So I think by the point they did all this sequence out at the back of the farmhouse, they basically had their action down. So they were concentrating. George told us this. He was really concentrating on his performance. He knew, he wasn't thinking about the camera, because he knew the camera was going to come around here when he goes there. He just had to, just replicate the move.
I think Dean mentioned in one of the, I saw it might have been in this video that he forgot who he was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so, I think for them, for cast as well, when you're allowed to exist in this kind of 360 universe, you really.
Well, I think for them, they both said it was rather like doing a play, so on a stage, you have certain movements, it's a blocking on the set, but then they concentrate on their performance. After that, that becomes second nature, the actual place where they've got to be and the timing of what they do.
They'd also been with us for 6 months of rehearsals, so they knew all of the crew. So it wasn't a feeling that they were coming on set and performing in front of people they didn't know. They knew everyone really well, so I think that helped.
It sounds like an extraordinary experience for everyone to you know, and everyone all focusing, all those moving parts heading towards that goal. It sounds like an amazing experience. Let's come to it's obviously a bit more of that. This shot got me. I watched the film again yesterday. This one I was pretty convinced that this was a crane across the river, but the fact you built a deck, that's impressive. And is that you again there, Gary?
Yes, that's right. It's me and Malcolm again. Yeah.
And so these are out of order. Obviously, this is just prior to the song, I think.
Yes.
That's right. He collapses on the bank, doesn't he? And then he hears the voices, and then he walks up to the voices. Yeah, that's right. We started behind a rock, didn't we, Roger? In the end, we had that. I think we had this 3 quarters built, this deck, but it goes much further this way. And on the day, I think we put probably another 20 feet in, didn't we? And we ended up starting walking on rocks, and I think it's a reveal from a stitch. We go through a rock, and there's George, and then me and Malcolm take over, and we let him get away, and he climbs over the bodies, doesn't he? And then we meet him on the bank. We chase him up on the bank. I think we go round him a little bit, and then he's off again. Yeah, we weren't sure to do that for a long time, were we? That shot.
This was a really tricky one. We sort of tested it with a little barge and all sorts of things, but it ended up, this seemed like the most solid way of doing it. You know,
I think by the time we got to this shot, we were really confident in the stabilizer, weren't we? When we were talking about it early on, we were sort of, well, will it work on it? Well, I'm not sure. We want to try it, but by this stage, I think we thought we could do most things. You know, this when we got to this.
How long did you shoot for?
65 days. 64 days.
From April 1st to the middle of July, second week, end of second week of July.
I think it was 64 shooting days and a couple of travel days.
Right. So into this,
a couple of days early, actually.
But you also should know that we didn't shoot every day, because if it was a sunny day, and there were a couple of them, we couldn't shoot.
Yeah, I think there were 3 days we didn't shoot.
How was the line producer about that?
Well, you know what was really good is the first day of the schedule was bright sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, and we didn't shoot a thing.
So the studio in Los Angeles was thinking, oh my God.
Everybody got the idea. And then the second day, because we rehearsed, and the second day was really beautiful, flat, cloudy day, and we shot 3 pieces, I think, 2 or 3 pieces. So it went like that. So
I guess that the benefit of having those days is that then you get even more rehearsal time. On a dressed set.
Sam emailed obviously we're in America, but Sam emailed the other day and said we couldn't have shot it this year because the whole of April there was like sunny, right? And absolutely. Then the pre-2018 was the same. So we were very, very lucky with the weather last year. Very lucky. So
this is Biggles's burning church. Somebody asked, Sam McCurdy asked, how many are they Dinos? How many lamps have you got on that?
There's Wendy's, Dinos, no, not Wendy's. There's Dinos, 12 light maxis, 9 light maxis, 6 light maxis. They're all in total of 2,000 bulbs.
Amazing. Gorgeous.
But it was the main light of the set.
It's 50 foot high and it's 40 foot by 60 foot base. Yeah.
Wow.
5 tiers.
That sort of takes into starting to approach that night scene, which obviously with the burning church, which has got that, you know, you're right, is that main source in that town centre. But of course, we have to talk a little bit about the flares, because I think that really is
source in the town. It's the only source, and you can see how small it is when you get to the other end of the set. It might look big when you're standing there, but it's not really. Yeah,
I mean, the flares was really a magic moment, and it put me in mind of, because I was having another spin through some stuff yesterday. The train robbery scene in Jesse James. There's that kind of the single source and all the shadows moving past everybody, waiting. It feels like that might have harked back to that. I don't know, but there was it was really a magical moment to be the concept of relying on that moving light was amazing. How did you go about doing that?
Well, I mean, it was written in the script that there were these flares going over the town, and when Sam and I just discussed whether it should be totally black or not. You know, when there weren't flares, and of course I was arguing for it to be totally black, and so we did some tests. I actually tested a light that Biggles had made up, because I was a bit dubious about actually being able to do it with real flares. But so we did a test with a light, and we did a test with some flares.
Just shooting.
Yeah, and Dom too, he said he reckoned he could make some up. The flares that we tested were not the right color. They weren't white enough. And I wanted white against what I was going to do with the church. And they didn't last long enough. So he said he could manufacture some that would suit us. And so I just talked to Dom about it. We tested one of his early versions, and it was really good, and it was white. So that took a lot of pressure off Biggles and myself. So we figured that Dom could do it. And then we talked about whether to be able to control where they go. So what we did is Dennis Gassner, his art department, built a little model of the whole town, and we put in little LEDs on wires to mimic where the flares would go. So we had it all mapped out where George was going to run, and where Sam wanted the light on and off and all that, and the timing of it. So I say with working with Niall, art director, and with Dom working on the flares and where to put his cranes, we had all this worked out on a model.
And also the buildings could move, so you could see
Yes.
the shadows.
So we moved the buildings to make the shadows do what they do, and then we had some floaters that on the night I actually moved in specific places to help. And yeah, it was.
So you had your own home moving set of building-sized gobos.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. I say, I mean, but the flares are really down to Dom. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
You know, and because they're all on wires, as you see, they're all on cranes and wires. So there's 6 cranes, and he's got them on they're computer controlled, so they arc up and down, and he was just changing the speed depending on where we wanted the flare at a certain time.
Amazing.
So it's really brilliant.
Well, it's a wondrous moment. I think it's it really is quite magical. Which is this is a fascinating shot. It's Charlie in a breakaway window.
Yeah,
takes us into the town square run.
Actually, it doesn't, because we did it like this and it didn't work.
Oh, okay.
So we, in the end, Gary, right? We did it on
50 foot techno crane. We had.
Actually, is that what that is? That looks like that. That's a techno coming out the window.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to rip the back of the set off because the movement going up the stairs and to the window, we needed that move to the window absolutely solid. And we shot it once or rehearsed it, and there was always a bit of movement in it, and it wasn't Charlie's fault. He just couldn't keep it that solid having walked up the stairs. Yeah. So Gary said he reckoned he could get the Technic crane in the back if we ripped the wall off the set. And so they basically did an overnight or an overday, because we were on nights, and we came in the next day and shot it on the Techno.
Yeah, the window slides to the left as I come on a queue as we come inside. The windows there on the wide shot, but to get me through with the arm, that was on a pulley, and the boys pulled it to the side, and I walked through the window and down that short steps, and then it dissolves into the next crane, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's some steps so that the camera could start going down as the last flare disappeared. So the only thing that was in the frame was the church fire and the silhouette of that big archway. So it was an easier match between that and then the shot that takes it up is also on a Technicrane that starts in the same position, but now the crane's on the ground and it comes down to the ground.
Amazing. Love that. Is that Sam and George there? Is that?
Yeah.
With your tower burning. You used various things. This was all really quite high speed. So it's looks like a electric tracking. Is
That's
that?
right.
Yeah.
Polaris mill, yeah. And we had all right.
Is that Pete Cav on that?
Yeah, that's Pete on that one, yeah.
And then obviously a handover. What I was curious about this was the transition as he goes in.
Yeah.
It sort of it tracks left through the little
side of the building.
Yeah,
that was a cut, right?
Yes, it had to be because we were on a set then. We were on stage set once we go inside there, yeah.
I mean, it moves into really quite the chiaroscuro of the scene with the mother or the woman with the baby is just astonishing. Beautiful single source stuff that I really love. So that was impressive. I wonder.
That was kind of a little scary actually doing that because actually, single source, but it was really difficult to light that because there is only single source, just the fire in the half of the fire, the boiler. So that boiler had to be designed so the light would light the shot. So it's, I don't know if there's not a picture probably, but the front of the boiler is slightly curved. So I could put in a lighting rig, or Biggles did, of these like 500 watt double end bulbs. And the light rig was slightly curved and there was some diffusion on the front of the opening of the boiler so that the light would kind of fade off around. So it just reached where the girl was starting, where Claire was starting in the shot. And then it would reach round to the bed. So there was some light on them before she turned up the oil lamp. And the oil lamp's obviously just a 500 watt bulb in the oil lamp. And it's because you don't have a single place to put a lamp. And if you did any lighting that was like above shot or whatever, it would be just so unnatural. So, it was really crucial that whatever lamp was in shot was actually going to light the whole thing. So it's the same with the flashlights in the bunker. They might look like flashlights, but there was about 6 weeks of work went into making those.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask actually earlier about those, but were they of their period, but did they feel
period.
like
they were period because Lee had gone to France and bought some in Paris, some proper flashlights, and but then we remade them, and we remade them just slightly deeper. And there's a big kind of glass dome at the front where the light comes out behind. And that dome is slightly bigger on our version, very slightly. And then Biggles found a little LED that could go in the back of it. And it was just far enough away that when we sandblasted the dome and left the little clear hole in the middle, you got that particular beam. So that's why there was a lot of
testing on that.
Testing and development on that until we got exactly the right beam for that space we were going to use it in.
Amazing. That was obviously a rehearsal of. This was this. I think this might be the take. I think I've got the rehearsal of that earlier. But just this was spinning through that. This was on a wire rig, was it? With a Libra. That's a Libra head, isn't it?
No, that's a Technicrane on a tracking vehicle.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's tracking on a tracking vehicle, yeah. And it stays on there, it doesn't come off.
And this is up to the.
It's a Libra, yeah.
This is up to the jump off into the river,
right.
which is then
Yeah.
take over into that. Sorry for whipping through these. I don't want to make people nauseous. Sorry.
Yeah, you haven't got a shot of it, but we had to the last run to the bridge used the same section where he comes out the lockhouse and goes to the town.
Yes.
So Dennis had to, that shot. You go back to that wide.
That one.
It reused this piece of set, changed a lot of the structures around, but we basically used the same road. They built a bridge underneath us, stripped out the lockhouse, and then the right-hand side of this, we had to take away all those structures. So the tracking vehicle had a road. The camera that it Technicrane is an arm out of 45 degrees.
Wow. Wowzers. Let's just get to.
Yeah, there. So,
There's a bit of shot of you with a camera on your shoulder there, Roger.
There was one handheld shot, actually. It's in the movie.
Amazing.
It's just when George falls down the stairs. In order to get that, it was I needed to do it handheld just to get the speed of the move.
It must be nice then, out of all of that, getting the camera on your shoulder again for that.
It was, yeah. Could get rid of everybody else then, Gary.
You just need somebody holding your belt, that's all. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been pushing me, I think.
Of course, that sort of takes us, all after the nighttime stuff and then the amazing, the rapid sequence. Of course, that was, it takes us into this, the big final scene, at least the final trench run. So this was that handover. I haven't got a better picture, I apologise, but that handover from one techno on a rail down into and then he's back out of it and on the run. And I've seen that there's a video clip on YouTube of Gary in uniform, I believe. He's grabbing the.
Is there? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
There is, a shot of you grabbing it off of one techno and running along and throwing it on another techno. That is sounds like a lot of could have gone wrong in that one, with all the SFX going off.
Yeah, a lot of it could have gone wrong, but actually, it actually didn't. The first take was pretty magic.
Yeah.
But we did rehearse it a lot. And it's one of those shots we rehearsed back at Bovingdon, in fact. The idea of coming out of a trench, putting the camera onto a moving crane that's already on a tracking vehicle moving. We rehearsed that quite a lot on the airport at Bovingdon.
Mm-hmm. But we didn't have a trench.
Oh, we didn't have the full.
We didn't have a trench, so it was still a sort of going to be all right.
Right, and we didn't have two Technicranes because that was
that's right.
Second Technicrane, actually.
Yeah, we didn't have two and so if you can think that photograph, everyone's looking at the other side of the trench. I don't know, 300 yards up the line is a track, a 50-foot track with a Technicrane on it. So the shot starts.
Oh, it's over this way, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's obviously we're on the move now, and he's running. But so it's a long way up the trench. On the opposite side of the trench, we've laid something like a 50-foot track with a 50-foot arm Technicrane, and it starts down in the trench with George looking at the mayhem around him, and then we push slowly into George on this crane, and as he climbs up the side of the trench, there's a pause, and we take it off, and as he goes to move, we then run backwards with it and place it on the next crane, and Brian Houghton, the driver, the Vickers driver, takes off with George then. Yeah, but we've done that on a Mini Libra.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we've done it on a Mini Libra because that was we weren't quite sure. It was just a heavier thing to do, and we knew we didn't have to travel far with a Mini Libra because it's quite heavy to carry it. We only carried it about 20 feet, 30 feet to do the transition, really.
And I guess if it's with a slightly heavier head, you and then moving at speed on a tracking vehicle with a techno, it would soak a lot of that up.
Yeah, well, that's what we thought. Maybe the stabilizer would have worked, but as we had the option of being able to carry the Libra, we thought we'll maybe go with that. You know, it might have
Laurie,
worked. But, yeah.
I've got a picture of it if you want.
Oh, great! No, if you can, if you want to share that, that would be amazing.
Let me. Why am I not able to share? I don't see. Oh, share screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let me just. Yeah, I just have to move it over so we're not on.
We did actually again though. We did test that run with a stabilizer, and then I remember Gary saying, I think we'd be better off with a mini Libra, because there was a little bit, there was so much speed, and it was, you know, quite a bit of a bumpy old field there. There was quite a lot of movement in the stabilizer at that speed. So
okay, here we go. Are you
Amazing.
seeing
There we
this
go.
now?
Yeah, that's fabulous. If you go for oh, and you're on Photoshop, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's good to see. Look at that. So that's the first 50. Wow.
I don't know if anybody's that interested, but you see, we put the Giza has put a drop-down nose on that. That's not the standard Technocrane, so that we can actually tip right down into we can get lower. You see, because the arm would foul on the top if you try to get as low as we got. So we built a 3-foot extension on the end of the crane, and then you've also got our little scaffold cradle for the crane as well. So we could actually get quite low without having to angle the crane too much.
Yeah, because the problem, right, Gary, is that if you're all right there if it's static, but if you're booming in and out, then it's really awkward to hold the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything like that before, Roger? Handed over from one techno to another techno? No,
I've not done any. No.
I mean, you've said that you don't particularly shoot action films, but I mean, this is a bit of was a big number, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but you know, again, spending all that time working out the shot, and then just working it out with Malcolm and Gary and Pete and Charlie, just kind of working through how to do it. Then, you know, frankly, when we came to do it, it was fairly straightforward. Yeah. I mean, the worst thing for me was the weather. Just waiting for the right light, you know, and trying to keep everybody off my back. No, everybody was fine actually, but I just felt the pressure because it was down to me, you know. And obviously it wasn't it's not such a big lighting exercise. It was just about camera movement and the sets and the performances. I guess it's not about. I mean, you wouldn't even no negs or bounces or any sort of available light management. Really, it looked like there was just. Did you do any of that? A shot like this, but
yeah,
you know, it had its lighting moments. That church was the biggest rig I've ever done, I think.
Right. I mean, it looked like it was about 4 times the size as the Skyfall fire.
Oh no, more than that.
Oh, really?
It's actually way more than that. But you know, and the sort of pressure is that, okay, you know the theory it's going to work because I've done it in Skyfall, but until you've got it up there and you've got it all plugged into the dimmer system, and you've got you know, Steve Matty working his magic with his dimmer program, it's like you don't really know it's going to work, you know.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, where are we at for time? Because I could keep on going, but I don't want to keep you forever because it's let's have a quick look. We've got a few questions here, and I think we've hopefully covered the majority of them. Let's just have a look for some. Oh, just about that actually. Just to sort of clarify a little bit about how you and we've talked about in terms of comms, but how do you and James work on set? I mean, obviously it's a super close relationship, or almost down to prep. And how do you prep together and then go through into shoot and then into post?
Oh, we approach it as a team. We do it all together. And so when we get into post, we're figuring it out together, and it allows Roger to then go do something, and I can go do a meeting for him, or I talk with visual effects a lot to make sure. Sometimes they suggest ways to shoot something, but it's not so good for us. So I talk to them about why they want to shoot it that way and how we could maybe compromise and shoot it a different way. And I do the digital workflow. So I'm checking dailies all the time and going in every morning and tweaking, and then coming back and letting Roger know what I've seen, and then seeing what we're shooting that day so I know what it's supposed to look like. And when producers come on set and they have a question about something happening next week, they don't go to Roger, who's a little tied up. They'll come to me because I know the answer. So it's allowing him to just focus on the visual, and I can, you know, handle all that other stuff of talking to people and stuff like that. And then in post, of course, I'm going through it and always checking when we're in the DI, checking with the visual effects, at what point is this shot? Is it done, or are you still working on it, and things like that? Or when we see a problem, or when we're shooting, if there's a problem with the camera, I follow through and figure out what it is.
Yeah, we had one little problem with the camera. It was nothing to do with the, well, I mean, I suppose it's something to do with the design of the camera, but it was a power issue. But James only found that out. James worked on that for weeks. It was nothing we couldn't fix, but it was just annoying. Most people didn't notice it, but I was obsessing about it. Yeah. And eventually they fixed it in post, didn't they? But
well, no, but eventually
it was figuring out what it was.
We fixed it because not knowing why something happens, you worry that something else is going to happen. Yeah. So once we figured out what it was and how we could get around it, that was no problem. And it really doesn't show. It only shows when you take the LUT and the timing off. Yeah. But God help us, let's hope nobody does that. You know?
It was not there now anyway. But
it's not there now. Yeah,
it was fixed. But you know, things like that. It's obviously it was a new camera. I mean, that was the only issue we had. Well, maybe a couple of other things, but not the affected the picture. And you know, so James was dealing with Ari or with Russell. You know, either Franz or with Russell or whoever, you know, so there's a lot of that goes on, and it's, I almost find it's more complicated now shooting digital because there's more options. So it's almost like you need to kind of have a tighter control on what's going on, you know, otherwise you know, timing, as James says, like in the effects work, you know, if somebody bakes in a timing on the effects work and then I'm trying to get the image back, and then you know, James chases all that down. Otherwise, you know, it would be chaos sometimes.
I mean, it helps because I know what he's looking for. That helps. And then, as I said, being on the comms, if he starts a sentence, I know what he's saying because we've just been together for so long that I actually can speak for him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but she's part. You know, she liaises with Gary and Pete and Andy. Harris, our assistant, and everybody. It's a team, you know. Everybody. It's It's
a collaboration.
We shouldn't go past it. I mean, that sounds like a dream partnership. The fact that you can.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's very boring.
Yeah, we're very boring. We only talk about the film.
Do you? Do you? In terms of LUTs, quick question about LUTs. I know Gary can nod off for this bit, but do you work with LUTs, or do you work in a kind of a real, or do you save all that in terms of daily timing, or do you just do
one LUT? Yeah, for the movie, but Roger tends to shoot it the way he wants it to be, so we're not fixing it afterwards. It's shooting it like film.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I shoot like I would be shooting film, you know. So I have one LUT and that's it. We generally, before a movie,
once we know what the movie is and sort of what we're going for, we'll go in and check that LUT to see if we need more contrast, we need whatever, you know, little tiny tweaks, but it's basically the same LUT.
Yeah.
I mean, then obviously you get into the DI, and you've got, it's just, you're just trying to maintain a match between scenes. So I guess it's just and I guess the idea would be the minimal amount of grading.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was interesting because obviously even you shooting under cloud, but it still varies incredibly between one cloud and another cloud, you know, the kind of look of it. So some of the matching, it was working with the effects team who were sometimes augmenting a blend, but then it was like working with them and figuring out where you're going to make the shift from one
piece of timing to
another. You know, it had to blend.
A very different workflow.
Yeah, it's a very interesting workflow. Yeah.
But we found, and it's a question of just sitting around with the technical people and figuring out what's going to work.
Yeah.
And we found the answer and we used it, and it was great because we did work with Deluxe in London and they were fantastic. Laura Metcalf was the DI producer and she was great. I mean, we would have been lost without her. She was great. Yeah.
Great. Greg did a great job. You know, it's interesting because it was about halfway through the shoot, maybe we saw a cut of what we'd already shot because, you know, Sam and the editor had been cutting it just, you know, exactly as it'd been shot sort of thing. And it was deceptive because you think, well, all the joints work. There's one or two that maybe need tweaking, but they all look work. But when you get in a DI suite and really analyze it and you find, not, you know, maybe we obsess about it a lot, but you know, you try and get it as absolutely flawless as possible, don't you? You know?
So apart from your multiple takes, you're only shooting 1-to-1, right? That's an interesting ratio.
Well, quite a few takes.
But you couldn't lose anything. I mean, that's what I think Sam's talked about. That is that those, you know, everything that that was intended to be shot had to be used because that's the there's no editing.
No way of
getting around anything. Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah.
Would you ever want to try something like that again, Roger?
You know, she laughs. You know, it depends on the script, doesn't it? You know, I mean, if it suits the story. I mean, I thought it was really interesting. It does work for this story, don't you think, Gary? It's kind of immersive, isn't it? You know.
It was very good. You know that Sam, we went for that tea at a cup of tea, didn't we, in Notting Hill earlier on? Yeah. And he said that Roger, the opening sequence of Spectre, he tried this one take thing just for 3 shots. Yeah. You know, I don't know if you know the action at the start of it. Yeah. And then you said the script and you said he wants to do the whole bloody film in 1 shot now. Do you remember? Yeah. Remember from that? Yeah.
Who gave him that idea?
Well, it's him.
He was very brave to do that because that first shot gave him a lot of trouble. And, you know, he had a lot of, it wasn't a great experience. So he was really brave to say, no, okay, now we'll do a whole film.
That's right. Whole film like it, Yeah.
What was
it was like it was a combination of that, I think, and of Jarhead, you know, the idea of just following the action with a handheld camera. I know it seems like the antithesis of 1917, but I think those films are quite similar in a way, that each way of doing it was trying to connect the audience with the characters, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that speaks to the immersion of it, doesn't it? Because it becomes a character, when the camera becomes a character that is taking part, or us as an audience are witnessing what's going on. I think that's and getting that close, but also getting that wide. And I think that's, you know, I was thinking about Russian Ark, and I'm sure you've seen that, but there was something about Russian Ark, although it was amazing at the time, that it wasn't, I was screaming for coverage in the end because everything was sort of, it felt so fixed and wide, and even though people came towards you. And I think this something like what Lubetsky did on Birdman and what you've done on this was you did the coverage by assuming those positions and by rotating and becoming into POV and back out, and so it really, that's the immersion for me, is that it's so clever.
That was a really interesting thing, because it was, again, I'm going to go back to Jarhead, because Jarhead was very much about the staging of the acting, and we didn't storyboard anything on Jarhead. We just shot it. Like, I mean, I shot rehearsals without really knowing what the actors were going to do. But we worked together to kind of make the shots work for the camera and for the performance. And so we did the same thing on this, but obviously we did it in prep,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, ahead of time.
So it was very much like, okay, that's great bit of movement. You know, George or Dean would have an idea of their movement, and they said, well, what if we did that? But then if you did that, you know, so the whole thing was like it built up that way.
Well, it's a dance, isn't it? And then everyone takes part in that, which I think is, you know, and that turns it into true filmmaking when it's the team collaborating. You've Gary, would you like to do a one-shot movie again?
Oh yeah, it's great for us because we're so involved in the film. You know, we just need a few months off at the end of it, really. I remember me and Roger at the end of the shoot. Sam, you know, as you do, called us all in to have a drink I think it was the Orangery in Shepperton. We'd just finished the shot they're running through, and Sam made a lovely emotional speech about the film and how much he'd enjoyed it. And he said, well, normally I finish a film and I'm exhausted, I can't go on, but this I feel fantastic, I could go on. And me and Roger looked at one another and thought we need to get it.
I said to Sam, you're by yourself, right?
Yeah. You're joking. Laying on, spread-eagled on the floor at the end of the last shot, I think. Yeah, just a relief. I think it was a relief as well, the relief that had been done. Yeah.
Well, again, we've said about that performance, you know, it's all the energy levels that you have to maintain to keep going. I think
adrenaline, though, isn't it? It's adrenaline nerves, really. I mean, so you forget how tired you are till it's done normally, isn't it? Till you get home. Yeah. You know.
Well, that's when you go home and
from the excitement of it.
Yeah. It's when you go home and come down with a terrible cold, and you know.
When it's finished. When it's finished, yeah. I had 4 months off afterwards.
Yeah, right.
Lying in a dark room. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I hope it's not been too painful for you, Gary. I know Roger and James are becoming experts at this Zoom business now. And of course, there's the Team Deakins podcast, which everybody should be tuning into. I'm sure they are. Thank you so much on behalf of DPs everywhere, Roger. Thank you so much. Thank you, James. Appreciate everything you've done helping us set this up. And Gary, what a hero. Thank you.
Hey, Gary.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope everybody stays safe and well and stays healthy, stays indoors because, you know, it's still, we're not over this yet. Good luck, everybody. Okay. Lots of love. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, Roger.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.